Hey, what up, everybody? Stevie Breach coming to you. I've been doing the podcast rounds the last few days, and Stone Cold Steve Austin has been on everybody's show. Basically, it was the debut of the Ross Report with Jim Ross. Honestly, in my mind, I think almost every wrestler in the world, Impact Wrestling, has their own podcast. Stone Cold Steve Austin was one of the first guys to jump on the bandwagon, followed by Chris Jericho. Now there's Jim Ross. WrestleMania has their own podcast going right now with the blonde-haired chick from Canada, whatever her name is. Honestly, I really like the Stone Cold Steve Austin show. I really like the Ross Report too when I first listened to it. The Ross Report honestly has the best sounding quality flow to it as it goes along. Jim Ross has a great voice for radio. Of course, back in the day, he used to host a WCW radio show out of Atlanta. I'm not sure if it was everywhere. I wish I would have known about it. It was on when I used to live there, but I only remember listening to one of the Ross Reports. It was him where he was interviewing Jake the Snake Roberts when he first made his jump from WWF to WCW, and he'd come in and he attacked Sting, and Roberts was on there sort of explaining why he attacked Sting. And you know, when you jump in and you're going to a new place, you don't want to jump the smallest guy in the yard. You always want to jump the biggest guy, and that's always sort of stuck with me. And like I don't know, it's just one interview on a radio show. But out of all these podcasts, you know, Stone Cold Steve Austin is the one guy to make the rounds. He seems like the one guy that Podcast One, the company that's in charge of, you know, paying the bills and making sure they read all those ads. You know, they like to get him out there, being one of the most famous wrestlers of all time. He's a guy that when you see it on there, you're probably going to download the show to hear what he has to say. And a lot of the interviews, honestly, were the same, but all of them touched on different topics. And the one topic that I really got out of these, especially from the Chris Jericho one, followed by the Jim Ross one, was Stone Cold Steve Austin is pretty sure he's never going to wrestle again. And that's hard. I mean, that's really weird. I mean, it's been a dream match for a lot of people out there, and people have been thinking that Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to come back and wrestle CM Punk WrestleMania 27, WrestleMania 28. I don't really remember a whole bunch of Stone Cold talk from last year, but this year it was everything from Stone Cold was going to come back and wrestle CM Punk. He was going to come back. He was going to wrestle Triple H. I mean, there's been 1,000 different things out there about what Stone Cold Steve Austin was going to do to help out WrestleMania. And, you know, Austin is pretty content that he's retired. You know, he thinks that there's more to lose than there is to gain from doing all this. And, I mean, that's hard to hear. Nobody wants to hear about their heroes, you know, hanging up the boots and really saying they're done. I mean, hell, I'm talking about Stone Cold Steve Austin and one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Hulk Hogan. You know, I've been making 1,000 videos about him coming back and having a match at WrestleMania as well. And just like, I don't know, man. I'm just not ready to hear this. I know they're older. You know, Stone Cold Steve Austin hasn't wrestled since WrestleMania 19. The bombshell story coming out of the Jim Ross Report was that basically Austin knew that was his retirement match. He knew that he was done. He didn't. I don't think he really honestly knew that he was never going to wrestle ever again. But I mean, like, he went to JR, he went to Vince, and he said, "I'm done. You know, this is it. You know, if you want to make a big old hoopla about this, go out there and make your money." And Vince chose to, you know, keep quiet because of basically his company, you know, going on to the stock market and everything like that, you know, with the IPO, that if, you know, investors caught wind that Vince was going to be losing one of his biggest stars of all time, Stone Cold Steve Austin, maybe the company wouldn't be, you know, worth as much money as it once was. You know, I'm sure, you know, after, WrestleMania 19, The Rock was there for just a brief little bit. They brought in Goldberg. You know, they had Triple H. They were donning the new Stars of Tomorrow with Evolution. You know, it's not like they were going to be, you know, they did just fine, basically is what I'm trying to say. But, you know, from an investor standpoint, like, if, I don't know, if the bomb dropped right now, with CM Punk sitting on his couch and, you know, and John Cena wasn't going to be around anymore, you know, WWE probably would be looked at as a place that would be needing some big stars in a hurry. They wouldn't be, you know, number one, a guaranteed number one anymore. I'm sure with Vince's money, he'd always be able to pull through, but I mean, it would be a company with a direct threat, going towards them. But I don't know. It's going to be weird, now sitting there not with a piece of paper drawing my dream WrestleMania card, thinking, this will be the year that Stone Cold Steve Austin comes back. He says that you can come back and you can train and you get in the ring and, you just, one thing doesn't go your way and it doesn't end up being the match that you want to be. You end up, with people coming up to you still, all the fans that come up to you say, hey, we need to see you in the ring one more time. All those people are going to be coming up to him, and instead of thanking him for that last match, just saying, like, hey, we need to see you in the ring one more time. And he says, like, yeah, he'll get a huge payday, but I mean, if in his mind, he doesn't have the perfect farewell match, then, he's just going to have that regret on his mind this whole time. Like, sort of, you go into the Mick Foley documentary that WWE put out, he would always say, I would have these perfect times for me to leave. And then they would offer me one more match because of how well the last match went. And then that one would sort of be like, this is the last one. And that one would always, fall flat. Like, he sort of wished that he would have retired after the Triple H match. And then he wished he would have retired, after... And then he came back and he did the WrestleMania thing. And then he wished he would have retired after the Randy Orton thing. But then he came back and he did... I can't remember what he did. But he always had, like, this one little regret after this perfect match. And he says that, at least with Foley, that he's going to get in the ring and he might, deliver a socko here or there, but, WWE's never going to let him wrestle again. It's just, it's weird, with, the big news of Viscera dying last night, and just, losing these guys. These guys aren't dead, they're still always going to be able to contribute something. Mick Foley's got his comedy show that goes around. Stone Cold Steve Austin has his, podcast that comes out twice a week. I wish Hogan did something. I don't know what the heck he can do. He's got a beat shop. You can go buy a t-shirt if you're in Clearwater, Florida sometime. But, I don't know, man. It's just weird. There's just, our heroes are saying peace out. It's 5 o'clock. I gotta get home. I gotta beat this traffic. I'm already fucked. Peace out.